such a time as this.
And welcome to For Such a Time as This round table. The topic is BLM and the riots. Please chime in if you would, ask questions, say what you say, and we will answer to the best of our ability. Sorry we're late. Prayer ran a little late, but we're here, and we'll be here until we solve all the problems of the world. Tonight we have with us Professor Abby. How are you, Professor Abby?
Well, I'm doing just fine, Pastor James.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm personally doing fine. I don't think our nation is doing very well,
I don't think our nation is doing well. Okay, and after that you have Prof. Lisa Joy. How are you?
Professor Abby.
Sorry.
Professor
Sorry.
Abby.
Sorry.
Let me go kick it out to Prof. Eric. How are you, Eric?
Good evening, sir. How are you?
Good. And last but not least, Prof. Lisa Joy. How are you now that you've gotten
I'm doing
it
all right now that I'm doing better with my IT. Sorry about that.
No problem. So we actually have the BLM, Black Lives Matters, and the riots. Who would like to start off on our esteemed panel? Anybody? Hold on, you gotta raise your hand so I can see.
I understand the anger. I understand the protest. I don't understand any of the violence. I don't understand any of the looting, and I don't understand any of the damage.
You need to. You don't understand the violence. You don't understand Marxists come to power by violence.
I do, in fact, understand that method, but I didn't think that method would be reconciled within the United States of America in 2020.
Okay. Who's next?
It's okay. we need an engineer. Okay, let's just be honest. But okay, that's all right. It is pretty stunning. But I guess the thing that is just stunning to me, and it's a spiritual truth, but that it's all based on lies, really.
What's all based on lies?
I mean, even the protest is based on a lie that there is some sort of epidemic of police violence, and in this case they're saying murder of Black Americans. That is a lie, unless you can call. Let's see, was it in 2019? There were nine unarmed Black people killed by police, and out of that, if you looked at the details, only 4 were unjustified. And so I don't know if you want to call four killings. 4 killings are still 4 killings. They should not have happened, and it's terrible.
And no one's disagreeing with that. No one's disagreeing with the fact that they shouldn't have.
But it's not an epidemic, and that is the narrative that everyone apparently seems to believe.
All right, I'm the advocate here. I'm the advocate here.
Get myself in a lot of trouble there.
I'm the advocate. Are you saying that it's okay what we saw on video with George Floyd?
Oh no. That was awful. That was criminal. That was a murder. Absolutely, 100%. But the thing is, I don't know anybody who disagrees with the fact that was awful. Mm-hmm. Everyone I know, black, white, purple, pink, red, yellow, agrees that was horrendous, what the police did to him. So we're all in agreement. So, but they've taken this and now it's about it's really about something different.
You say they. Who's the they? Who's the they?
Or are taking to the streets, and particularly, obviously, the people who are just destroying, the looters, the rioters, the people who are being violent. They, in particular, I think those are people just looking for an opportunity to destroy. And I think it is organized. In my opinion, there is organization behind it. There is money behind it. They're just, what is the saying? Don't waste never let a good crisis go to waste. And that's what we're seeing. But there are a whole lot of Americans who are just blindly buying into the narrative. And when I see people, okay, so I'm just going to jump off the cliff. When I see people policemen washing the feet of black protesters, and here we get into the spiritual. I'm just talking too much, but we get into the spiritual nature of it. I mean, that's really the devil at work, because that is a picture. I mean, that was Jesus washing the feet of his disciples, and it just seems to me it's so obvious that it should be obvious to a Christian that is just the devil making a mockery of a beautiful thing, which he has a habit of doing.
So, Abby, are you saying that black people have nothing to worry about in 2020 America? That's not what I'm saying at all. But what I'm saying is racism is way down on the list as far as things that are destructive within the black community. And I know that there are a lot of people who just disagree with me about that, but and when you talk, I don't, we could get into the list, but that's a whole other thing. Now you do know a lot of blacks will say that is real easy for a non-black to say that racism is way down on the list. So let me just ask, playing advocate here, then why are all these black folks so upset? I mean, what is your answer to why are all the black folks upset? And also, those who are listening, please go ahead and chime in with your questions, and we'll answer them. But then the question becomes, why are so many African Americans taking to the streets and destroying stuff so that they can be heard? What is the answer to that?
You really want me to answer that? Okay, I'll get.
Yeah, I asked. Yeah, I want an answer.
All right. Well, look out, because I think it's a lot easier, and it's a human thing. It's not a black thing or a white thing, but it's a human thing, that it's a lot easier to blame other people than it is to look in the mirror and then to take responsibility.
So are you saying that black people were responsible for George Floyd's death?
No. Of course not. But what we're talking about here, I mean, when people start talking about systemic racism, and which as far as I understand it, systemic racism is what they call it when there are unequal outcomes between two groups. Now, you can have unequal outcomes for a whole host of reasons that have nothing to do with racism.
That's technically not systemic racism. They're saying that the unequal outcomes is proof of systemic racism, but that's not technically systemic racism. Systemic racism, from what I understand, is racism built within the system. It's systematic racism. Good.
I'd like to see an example of that. That's where I go, okay, we keep talking about this. Didn't this start with Eric Holder years ago? I think he was the one that first used that. And I see this all over social media saying, well, it's systemic racism. And I think I would like to see an example of systemic racism, because when you, just like what Terry, with what Abby said, is it's like when you have an example of, the people that were shot and killed in these situations in 2019, it's when you get all the details, there are very few of them that were really just, when the facts come out, because the media never brings all the facts out. Oh. I mean, when you look at something the headline comes out and then they give some of the details. When you get the backstory or the two other sides to the story, it's never what you thought it was originally. whether it be about race or something else.
So, Prof. LJ, are you saying that there's no systemic racism in the United States of America, that all these black folks marching?
Use that term. There is racism. There is racism, and there will always be racism. But to the extent that every white person has to apologize for something that they have no connection with, I would say most of us, if we have ever said, I think about myself, most of my close friends have been ethnically diverse. My close friends have been from other countries, different skin color, and I've never had issues with being friends and being honest but we've gotten to the place where you can't even joke about things. It's if someone thinks that I takes my comment in a racist way, then I'm guilty.
Right.
It's so unfair. So you can't have a relationship then. You can't really have a relationship because you can't be honest, you can't joke, because God forbid I say something that someone takes or thinks that takes it the wrong way, I'm guilty. And I just go, that's a lose-lose. That's not a win-win situation. That's a lose-lose. Everyone loses.
So why do you think all these black people are marching then, Prof. LJ? I mean, are they wrong? Or do you agree with Prof. Abby here that?
Well, I think the media has taken this and blown it up. I think the media is really behind all of this. And when there's things, everyone's emotions are high, we want action. Instead of sitting and talking about things and getting the facts on the table, we want action. And this is at the end of what? At the edge of the end of a pandemic where everyone's been cooped up. I'm like, and I think some of them, just like she said, I think there's people behind it paying for some of the people. I mean, Antifa and all this, these Black Lives Matters groups, I think some of it probably people join groups for not bad reasons, but it morphs into something else. I don't think everyone's knows what they're signing up for when they do. I think they're taking advantage of
things that aren't true.
Right.
That's one factor. And plus, you have the whole with social justice and what's been taught in our schools, not at the university level and now even in high school and getting into the grade schools, is a whole victimhood mentality. It's a whole victimhood worldview. I mean, even in my daughter, in her last year in public high school, in her gym class, so go figure this, they did exercises, and one of the exercises was that you were supposed to, everybody was going to sit in a circle and basically spill their guts about the most difficult thing in their life and how hard it was and how difficult and how painful. I was just in gym class. It's like group therapy without a therapist. You're talking about a gym teacher, and my daughter doesn't need group therapy anyway, but and my daughter, it got to my daughter and she's like, I don't really have anything to complain about. She's like, my parents and I have a really good relationship and blah, 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 but everybody else spilled their guts. And if that's what is being encouraged, actively encouraged, and I can't even imagine how it is among schools with minority majorities, if it's like that in this, high school in Palatine.
Well, and if that, someone has to take responsibility for it. You blame someone, just like what you were saying. You blame other people instead of taking responsibility. That's the culture we're living in. Someone's always to blame.
Yes, we all have. We talked about this earlier when we were talking about the 10 Commandments, actually, Pastor James. God gave us 10 Commandments, and those are basically obligations. Now, there's two sides to that coin, because on the other side of the coin is rights, because for every commandment, there is a corresponding right. But we only teach rights now instead of obligations. Mm-hmm. And that our whole culture is just sick. I don't know what to say.
Undermining authority, too. Undermine authority. and you're encouraging people high on emotions.
There really is no recognition of authority at all. The original authorities were our parents. That's where we learned how to follow directions, was from our parents. In lieu of the parents, there was supposed to be somebody to step in. In lieu of that not happening, it went to the schools. And now we have the schools raising our children.
And some of that is... There are a lot of people there who really think it ought to be that way.
And the schools have determined this is how we're going to teach, quote unquote, our children.
Oh, okay, so am I hearing all of you correct? That all these black people marching are marching for nothing? I mean, there's no racism. It's good.
Say much, but I haven't. That's not true. I believe there's a myriad of reasons why they are marching.
But do you think there's a myriad of good reasons why they're marching?
I think there's a few good reasons. I think there are some African Americans that saw George Floyd and it turned up some memories that hurt them personally. And that has to be addressed. That has to be recognized. That being said, that pain only goes so far. I'm sorry, that pain goes so far. That pain does not go, because what has happened is subsequent pain by other black folks, because some of those buildings, some of those businesses were owned by African Americans. What is their answer? What is their answer to why did this happen to me? I hear crickets. I don't hear anything to that. What is the answer to the people who live in the neighborhood every day and they see death every day? They see shootings every day. They see people killed every day. And this particular brother who gets killed by a white policeman, absolutely unacceptable. Somebody needs to pay. But the question is, the number of people who die every day in the black community is not being addressed. The situation, truth be told, has been overstated. What's been completely understated...
What's been overstated? The death of George Floyd?
The death of people under those circumstances.
But here's what I'm hearing, because I'm looking at my family members and people on Facebook, and so I'm using their arguments and their views.
You're good at that, by the way.
I know. So here's my thing. People from Black Lives Matters are not saying they agree with the looters and the rioters. They're saying they march with. They are marching for equality of black people in the United States of America.
Okay, so what is their answer to the question to who are those people who just looted, burned, and destroyed hundreds of millions of dollars of businesses across the country?
They would say that's not Black Lives Matter.
Who is it?
Actually,
If you really want to know, I have in a private text message I can show you. They're saying it's white police officers that are dressed up as civilians going around destroying stuff. Now I can show you that in a text message.
Hey, hold on. Okay. Before I say that's a bunch of fracking-ackle, but wait, hold on.
I'm saying I can show you the text message. They're saying it's not black people, and it's definitely not Black Lives Matters. It's the people who want to subvert the true message of Black Lives Matters. Now I can show you the text messages.
You know that's not true, right? Do we have to really go into that? Because we can supply pictures. I little old me can go find some pictures and prove that people who broke those windows weren't all white. They weren't all black, but they absolutely were not all white.
That was the few bad apples, but don't try to.
Everybody's got a few. Everybody's got a few bad apples.
Do you know what?
Message now.
One of the videos that was going around was a senior black woman that was yelling at the black young people that were trashing her business and saying, well, how did you help our community? And I thought, all these videos going around, and it's not just an isolated incident, you know, they're tearing down. And I had a couple comments that have gone around on Facebook, and they said, well, it's just material things. We're fighting for life. And I said, wait just a minute. These are lives. These are people that had businesses that they put their whole lives into, and you have just undermined their whole way of living. For
Let me say this again, from Black Lives Matter. Whether it's true or not, they will say that's not the organization of Black Lives Matter. Those are rioters. Those are thugs in some cases. You know who Juan Williams is. He's the one token liberal on one of them. They got a few of them on the 5 and Fox. He will say, I'm going off of him. He will say that he's against the riot and the looters, but that's not Black Lives Matters. And to conflate the two, you are destroying what the Black Lives Matters movement means.
Hashtag defund the police. So forgive me for saying.
No. They'll own that. They will own.
Help exactly.
Okay, now you're switching arguments now.
No, because looters and the rioters, right? You get rid of the police. Who else is that going to help? That doesn't help good people, decent people.
Wait a minute. Hold on. You're conflating the two. Black people from Black Lives Matter will say they're not for the rioters, but they are for certain things that they put up on the website. Tackle that. No rioters, no looters. They're saying they do not believe that I'm talking to my cousins on Facebook, looking at Facebook and text messages. They will not agree with that. Okay.
Making. Black Lives Matter cares about black lives as long as it's not the Planned Parenthood and the abortion clinics, as long as it's not black on black crime in the South Side. So those lives are black too, and including all the black lives that were killed during all these riots, the police, the security, the people that were doing good and were killed. I mean, they don't have any answer for that. Too. But see, only certain Black Lives Matter.
They do have answers. Here's the answer. You all are distracting from the reality that police are killing black people. That's what they're saying there.
Lie.
Yeah, then we get back to the lies.
They're killing a lot. Yeah, clearly. There were 4
Do you know what they have said
2019.
Police are more hesitant to shoot a black unarmed or armed man than a white, and they killed more whites in the you look at the statistics.
Professor, where are you numbers from?
I can find those if you want the studies. Yeah, Heather, what was Heather's list? Because Larry Elder, who is black himself.
Those numbers came. I shouldn't be saying this. I'm sorry. Go ahead, those numbers came from a Harvard study. And the person who did the study was an African American, and he actually was shocked at his own results. So we've been going around, and still are, going around spouting off quote unquote facts that are unsubstantiated. When the statistics come into play, nobody wants to hear them. That is the truth. You know what? Okay, I used to look at movies a lot. There was a line in the movie A Few Good Men, and there was an exchange between Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson. And Jack Nicholson asked Tom Cruise, "What do you want?" And very emphatically, Tom Cruise said, "I want the truth." And Jack Nicholson very calmly responded, "You can't handle the truth."
Okay. Now,
that's exactly where we are right now.
Here's what I got to ask. Here's what I ask, because now this is the crux of the matter. You will hear people from the African American community say flat out this. Are you going to sit here and how can I say it? Discount my pain, my experience in America, and my hurt and pain? Because every time a black male is pulled over from the police, he is afraid for his life. When they tell you that, what is going to be your answer? And I'll go around the corner, and I'll start with you, Prof. Eric. Go ahead.
Okay, just for the record, my skin is chocolate, and my brown eyes are not blue. I can absolutely, completely relate to the concern of being stopped and not knowing what's going to happen. I had to train my child, my male child, how to act and behave when he is stopped. Not if, when he is stopped. I have been stopped walking on the street. Okay, so
what do you tell him?
I have to make sure that he knows how to respond in a gentlemanly way, because you don't know who's going to stop you.
But Eric, do you just realize you made their argument?
No, I did not make their argument.
They're saying it shouldn't be. That should not be. You should not have to do that to your son when white fathers don't have to do that with their sons.
Sir, let me respond. Can I please respond? Okay, just because I have to make sure that my child knows how to respond does not at all mean that that happens all the time. We've got numbers to back that up. That's number one. Number two is, if you don't respond that way and you act, quote unquote, any old kind of way.
But here's the question. Do you think a white man has to teach his son the exact same way that you did? And that is their argument. Do you think a white man has to do that with his son?
I'm lost. I'm not going to answer that question yet. And the reason I'm not going to answer that question yet is because what does that have to do with the rioting and the looting and the destroying I just saw?
And listen,
being careful does not equate to me going downtown and breaking windows and taking stuff that's not mine.
And Juan Williams will agree with you. So nobody from the BLM, my cousins are saying no one is disagreeing with you with the rioters and the looters. It's specifically how black men are treated differently than white men when it comes to the police. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, can I just jump in here real quick? So I guess I'm not black, clearly, but I would have to answer with a question. What is it going to take for us to get past this? And I'm talking about concrete. What is it that you are looking for? Even the peaceful protesters. What is it you need in order to get past this?
Hold on one second, Prof. Abby. Brian, I need clarification. You said I tell them facts don't care about your feelings. The arguments they are making are not supported by any statistics. Be more specific. Are you saying the black people aren't supported by statistics, or the white people aren't supported by statistics? Just explain to me more so what you mean by. But Prof. Abby, you're saying, what do we need to get past this?
Question to the protesters.
Be careful, because they're telling you what you need to get past this. Defund the police and wash my feet and kiss my feet. That's what they're telling you right now. This is what you need to get past this.
It won't be enough. It's exactly the thing. It won't be enough. It goes on and on and on.
This is what we're forgetting. This is what we're forgetting. It doesn't matter what color the skin is. The blood is red, which means we're all human beings, which means, okay, after everybody kisses our feet, licks our boots, then everything should be fine. Correct?
And if not, they'll come up with some more stuff, but we can start off with that. I mean,
because we're all human beings and we are sinners. Period.
That's right. We cannot be saved by just the things of this world, and that's a huge part of the problem. It's the God hole that people are trying to fill with this too. I think that this actually makes people feel like, some people, like their lives are meaningful all of a sudden because they're doing this great thing. They're in the streets. I suspect that it's a meaning. It's an absence of meaning in their lives.
all right, let me say this. What Prof. Eric described is real when it comes to what you have to teach your sons and whatnot. My son was pulled over by police before an expired sticker, and I wanted to know where he was, just to make sure everything was okay. That's a reality. That's real. Even though most of the times when my son got pulled over, they let him off because they thought he was a football player and blah, 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 blah. So he got let off. But that's a reality, okay? What do you do with that? And so that, I think, is what is part of some of the Black Lives Matters issue, is that they want to be treated equally. Now, at some level, you do have to admit that they're not being treated equally in order for to do it. And so this is where the facts come in. Let me look at what Brian says. Black people are making the argument that we are being murdered by cops more than whites. 2 universities did a study stating that cops are less likely to shoot black suspects than whites. This is the result of them being afraid their lives will be destroyed by the media. Here's what we like to say around here, Brian. You know what's wrong with your reasoning? You're using it. When you have emotions flying, people are not prone to slowing down. So here's what I hear you all saying, that a lot of this is being emotionally driven, right, and not being supported by the facts. If someone comes up in your face and says that emotionally, do you jump to that? Or, I mean, how do you talk them off the ledge by which they will be susceptible, or will be at least willing to look at the facts? Because right now you try that reasoning on Undisputed with Shannon Sharp, or with First Take, Stephen A. Smith, and all these other guys. You will be hunted down, shot, and stabbed, because they're not listening. They're not listening for that. Go ahead.
I find that hard to believe, Pastor, because all they talk about, if they want to be credible, is Shannon Sharp, Stephen A. Smith. Well, more Stephen A. Smith than Shannon Sharp. All he talks about is numbers. His point is based on numbers. You find it hard
for them to try to take facts into the matter?
Well, emotionalism trumps facts, no pun intended. But the truth of the matter is, Stephen A. Smith talks numbers. So this would be the yes, he does.
Wait, so you're saying that they're open to reason on this issue?
No, not open to reason on this issue. They're open to reason on any other sports issue. there.
Here's what Brian, who's the co-host tonight, Brian J. Here's what he said. He said, they can't be talked off the ledge. They are looking to pull you off the ledge with them.
That's true. In the arena that this initial discussion occurs, nobody is trying to hear the truth. And that is the truth. Nobody's trying to hear facts. They want their side heard, and that's period. And that's it. They don't care what's going on after that. Subsequent to that, later on, when the emotions are lowered, perhaps those facts can come out. But it takes a special human being to be able to accept the facts. And it doesn't matter what color it is. It takes a special human being, one, to see the facts and realize they're in error.
So what you saying is all them people marching, they ain't special. That's what you trying to tell me? All the Black Matters people marching ain't special? Nah, I know not saying it. But look,
They are special.
Don't you find it interesting that this is an election year, and some of these protests and all of a sudden these racial unrest comes up in election year?
That's just a coincidence.
It's just, oh, it must be. It must be. And I just go, you know what? In the last how many years? I want to say the last 5 years, the people that have educated me on things have been the black conservatives that have come out and speaking the truth, and they have a good sense of humor to it too. And I go, I've learned a lot. Because I, as a white person, cannot say these things. What right? That's what I hear all the time. It's like, well, of course you'd say that. You're white. You have white privilege. And I go, okay, let's look at the facts. Let's look at where I'm pulling my facts. It's not someone that has a background that I do.
I want to go to Christian angle as we land this plane. It's late. We want to get home to our families. But just want to put in there, Vicky says, are the black lives stuck, when talking about the abortions, the black lives stuck in failing schools due to corrupt teacher unions? Absolutely true. So let's go around the table. Let's end it this way. How do you approach in Christian love, as we land this plane, because we got to go home, in Christian love, how do you approach people from the Black Lives Matters and the riots and all the other stuff, high emotion? What do you do in your Christian duty to love that person? How do you approach? Who wants to go first? Okay, go ahead.
I would say, first of all, praying for them. And the other thing is, I think it's not just people that are part of the Black Lives Matter group. I think there's a lot of people that have been drinking the Kool-Aid and are on their side and supportive of them. And so we get a lot of kickback from people in our families and our churches, which is hard for me to believe, but and people that are, listening to the news that have bought the narrative. And it's, so I think for myself, because it, just like all these things are raising emotions high, they do get your emotions raised high. I would be lying to say it didn't for me too, but I'd say I ask questions more than I try to convince, because you're not going to convince someone. Prayer and asking questions.
So if someone says we can start off this conversation, Prof. LJ, by you kissing feet and washing feet, you not open to that?
Absolutely not. The only person I kneel before is my Lord.
I had to ask because that's what they said. Okay, who's next? Prof. Abby, you want to go?
Okay, so the question is, how do you
approach people from the BLM and Christian love? What do you do?
Well, I think you first have to find out if they're willing to even dialogue, because I find most people from the other side really aren't. I have tried, and not just on this issue, but the left in general. I have tried more than once with more than one, all kinds of different situations, because I would love to be able to ask the people questions and just have the answers, even just to know how they think, not necessarily even to try to change their mind, because, like we said, good luck with that. But and generally they aren't open to an honest dialogue.
But
I'm sorry for that. I mean, I'm sure that there is a small minority that would be willing, but I finding a needle in a haystack. I think, like Eric said, that's an unusual person.
But Prof. Abby, this group does have certain clear-cut asks.
Nuclear family and I'm talking about Black Lives Matter, of course, on their list, their want list.
So Black Lives Matters, they don't like families? Is that what you're saying? I didn't understand you said.
Saying I think they're Marxists. If you look at their list, they want to get rid of normativity. What does that have to do with improving the lives of black people? They want to dismantle the nuclear family as the ideal. What does that have to do with helping black people? They have a whole bunch of demands that have nothing to do with black people, because, as we said at the beginning, I think this is a highly organized, well-financed group. It has everything to do with the election and more. They're making their move.
We need to flush that out with the Black Lives Matter, saying it's a Marxist.
Because in order to replace it with their utopia, their vision of utopia.
Well, you're gonna have to come back with. You're gonna have to.
That's another show.
Yeah, you're gonna come back with facts. And so if someone from the BLM come and says, "I'm willing to dialogue," but it starts with washing feet and kissing feet, you telling me you're not open to that?
You're out of your mind.
Okay.
You couldn't pay do that.
Okay. All right. And they would say you're not serious because you don't love them enough to be like Jesus and wash feet. So I'm just telling you what they say. So, Prof. Eric.
You act like an apostle. Maybe I'll wash your feet.
You said what?
No,
you said what?
Never mind, nothing.
Oh, okay. Prof. Eric, how do you approach people in the BLM movement?
There's a divine order I learned in college. Talk to God about men, and then talk to men about God. That's number one. Number two, I'm not convinced that Black Lives Matter is a holistic unit. And by that, I mean, it's not just one group that is together, solid, and they all say the same thing. I've seen at least 3 instances where there was either a group of European-based individuals and the Black Lives Matter group came in, started a group dialogue, and they ended up hugging. I've seen that 3 times on video. So I don't know who Black Lives Matter is. I just know that the narrative that I heard over the last 2 weeks did not include all Black lives.
But here's, so you're saying that it's possible, and you saw Black Lives Matters hug European people from European descent, and everything was good. Yep. Was this after washing feet and kissing feet? I mean, what? They will hug.
I don't. I'm wondering who those. See, there were so many people. I'm being honest. There are so many people that I saw doing stuff. I'm not sure it was BLM telling them to kiss my feet. I think that there were some people from European descent that was so thirsty to do something, and they wanted to be on TV too. They wanted to be on camera, that they did those things.
So I'm going to ask you, if someone from European descent want to kiss your feet and wash your feet, you going to let them?
Absolutely not. Nobody gets these feet. I'm not even going to look in somebody's direction either. No, I mean, remember Peter? Peter was like, "No, I'm not going to kiss your feet. I'm not going to wash. No, I'm not going. Well, no, I'm not going to wash your feet."
But he wound up doing it.
Oh, yeah, because he realized what the situation was. But initially, he didn't want to do that.
So did you just make the argument that they should be washing feet? European people from European descent.
Oh, I didn't. Those words didn't come anywhere out of my mouth.
Okay. I'll land it with this. Brian J., who was the co-host tonight, he said, oh, wait a minute. There was two I missed. He said, it's difficult to find people that will actually discuss facts. It's okay to have different opinions, but not facts. Abby is correct. BLM supports the trans multigender movement. If someone, and then the next one is, if someone believes a man can become a woman, I'm dusting the dust from my sandals and moving on. That's me being like Jesus. Laugh out loud. BLM is probably so splintered intentionally. They can take credit for peaceful protests but deny having anything to do with violence. Best of both worlds for them. Also, there was a thing on Fox News in which my man Tucker actually interviewed some people marching with Black Lives Matters and asked them did they have any problems with the riot. And he said he found up 90% of people marching with BLM said they had no problems with it. They were for it. Wait.
They were fine with it. The peaceful protesters. Almost
those
all
who
of
were
them.
peaceful at the moment, that was walking in the middle of the day, they didn't have any.
Neither did Chris Cuomo. He didn't have any problem with it.
Yeah.
People are defending him.
And let me say this, as far as who Black Lives Matter is, I'm gonna what they put on their national website, I'm gonna believe it. I mean, it's out there. That's who they claim to be. I'm gonna take them at their word.
I need to do a video on that. The more documented positions of BLM. I know they are pushing the Equality Act in Congress right now, so we gotta figure out and let people know who they are. But you just gotta be careful. I mean, because you're supposed to love black people, they say, and be sympathetic to their plight.
Say, I love you enough to tell you the truth.
I also say you can't talk like that to people who don't want to hear that logic junk. But anyway, that is what it is. We went pretty long. We need to do this again. We need to stay up on this because this ain't going to, my concern, not my fear, my concern is this ain't going anywhere anytime soon. It's going to be on the front page, defunding police departments, washing people's feet, kissing people's feet. This may not go away.
I think the kneeling is going to be more of a thing than this kissing thing.
Once you start kissing the feet, kneeling ain't enough, Eric. It ain't enough. I mean, they've once you've had steak, you don't want a hamburger. You know what I'm saying? That's my fear. But
we're gonna have some situations. Oh, the more this happens, I'm gonna say it right now. The more this happens, there's going to be a situation because there are going to be a group of people that are not going to like this at all, and there will be a response.
There already a response. The KKK marched today in Georgia. You do know that, right?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'll show you. I'll show you the video, and that's what you're going to get. It's going to create a race war.
Now, we didn't want to say this, but I am sure there were some people that were not all excited about seeing white people kiss black people's feet.
Of course not. I'm going to show you a video when we're done.
Yeah, please and thank you.
But anyway, thank you. It's been real. Thank you, Brian J. Thank you very much. We'll see you all later on. And for such a time as this, we need to be more regular, once a week. Keep you up on the current and dates. See you later, and don't kiss nobody's feet.
such a time as this.